9.7 FM.
Tonight, President John Dramani Mahama talks tough 1 week after his inauguration as he assures the people of Bawku and its environs of doing everything within his might as president to restore peace to the area.
So today is exactly 1 week when I was sworn in at the Black Star Square, and it's my first major assignment outside Accra. And so I decided to come and assure you that we're going to work very hard to make sure that we bring peace back to Bawku.
Details as he is said to announce key security appointments this week whose task will include permanently ending the decade-old Bawku conflict.
And to let you know that I am apprised of the issue, I'm going to deal with it, and I can assure you, have trust in myself and this administration that by the grace of God, peace is going to come back. Permanent peace is going to come back to Bawku.
So what needs to be done to achieve this objective? We speak to people with a vast understanding of the Bawku issue to get some sense of what actually needs to be done here on Top Story. Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. Now, tonight, President John Dramani Mahama is taking a tough stand 1 week after his inauguration as President of the Republic of Ghana, as he assures the people of Bawku and its environs of doing everything within his might to restore peace to the area. He said to announce key security appointment this week, whose task will include permanently ending the decades-old Bawku conflict. The announcement is coming on a day the president met with the heads of state security agencies before he left to Bawku to begin his peace mission. Addressing residents in Bawku, President John Dramani Mahama assured them of his commitment to restoring peace in the area. Now, during his campaign, he made this one of his top priorities, and he went there to assure that once he's president now, he will ensure this comes to pass. Now, his visit comes on the heels of a violent clash last week, which claimed 2 lives, raising the death toll to 41 since the conflict resurfaced in October last year. Regional correspondent Albert Sorry summarizes the situation in the following report.
The Bawku chieftaincy conflict between the Kusasi and Mamprusi has a long, complex history dating back to the 1930s. The recent resurgence of the conflict, starting in 2021, has resulted in hundreds of deaths and had devastating consequences for the town's economy and residents. The once thriving town in the Upper East region has been reduced to a shadow of its former self, with a dusk to dawn curfew and a ban on motorcycle riding imposed by the government. The conflict has severely impacted key sectors such as health, education, and commerce. Many businesses have closed due to safety concerns, and schools struggle to remain open. Despite the challenges, Bawku successfully held a peaceful election last December. However, sporadic violent incidents continue to occur, indicating that the conflict is far from over. Past governments have attempted to manage the situation, but their efforts have been insufficient to bring lasting peace. This new John Mahama-led NDC government will face the daunting task of resolving the conflict. It remains to be seen, however, what new measures this government will adopt.
But sorry, with that particular summary of what the situation is like in Bawku. Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbagba joins me in studio with update from John Mahama's peace mission to Bawku and its environs. Maxwell, first tell us the purpose for this particular visit and what John Mahama has been telling residents of Bawku.
Well, earlier this morning, we had the advisory, the media advisory from the spokesperson of the president, Felix Kwasi, and he stated that the president is determined to resolve the decades-old conflict in Bawku and will use this visit to engage the conflict factions and key stakeholders to promote dialogue to achieving lasting peace. And that's essentially what the president has been doing today since he touched down, in Bawku sometime around 11 a.m. This morning. So he first met with the overlord of Bawku. They had a closed-door meeting, and then he outside, to address the residents of the Bawku community who had gathered, to listen to him. Key amongst the things that he talked about the fact that on the campaign trail, he promised that if he's elected president, he's going to ensure that he permanently deals with the Bawku conflict, and this is one of the major steps that he's taking to permanently deal with the situation. He said the residents for the past 4 years have been living under stress as a result of the conflict there, and is hoping to bring permanent solution to this.
If you remember, I came here to seek the blessings of my father for the election, and God granted our heart's desire, and I got elected. And so my first mission was to come and say thank you to him. Again, during the campaign, I stated that if God granted our desire and I was elected president, bringing peace to Bawku was going to be one of my number one priorities. So today is exactly 1 week when I was sworn in at the Black Star Square, and it's my first major assignment outside Accra. And so I decided to come and assure you that we're going to work very hard to make sure that we bring peace back to Bawku. I remember when I was president, Bawku and surrounding areas were very peaceful and work was going on, people were going about their duties. It's sad that this situation has occurred again. And I know that for the last 3 years, you have not been able to sleep. You've been living under stress. And so the priority of our government will be to bring peace back to Bawku so that everybody can go about his duties without fear of harassment. We want to assure you.
Now, Maxwell, as part of effort to bring long-lasting peace to Bawku, he's been talking about some appointment that he'll be making this week.
Yeah.
Of course, he's saying that their topmost priority will include to bring peace to Bawku. He's been providing some details.
Yes. So he says this week he's going to make key security appointments, and he mentioned the Ministry of Defense is one of them. The Interior Ministry is one of them. He also mentioned the National Security Coordinator. He also mentioned BNI Director, and quite a number of security positions that he says he's going to make key appointment, to, and their major task will be to permanently, one of their major tasks, will be to permanently deal with the situation at Bawku.
Want to assure you that we're putting in place the various appointments so that we can have ministers and other officials who are responsible for the security to take charge. And so within this week, we will do the appointments of the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Interior, the National Security Advisor, the National Security Coordinator, the BNI Director, and all the others. And when these appointments are made, I'm going to charge them to make Bawku one of the number one priorities that they attend and deal with. And so I'll appeal to you to exercise patience, exercise restraint, and to let you know that I am apprised of the issue. I'm going to deal with it. And I can assure you, have trust in myself and this administration that by the grace of God, peace is going to come back. Permanent peace is going to come back to Bawku. And so, as my younger brother said, from here we'll continue to Nalergu to meet the Nairi too and deliver a message to him. We cannot live in a country where our people don't feel safe. Our people must feel safe to travel wherever they want at whatever time and not have people shooting at them. And so you can be sure that we'll deal with all these situations so that we all can have the peace that we need in order that our traditional areas can progress. When I entered, my father reminded me about his request, and you all know what request that was. My assurance is we need peace to be established because some of the processes that you must go through for what your hearts are desiring require that the area is peaceful. But you can be sure that I haven't forgotten about it, and I want to thank you very much.
Before the president left for Bawku this morning, he met with heads of state security agencies.
Yeah.
One of the issues that came up at that particular meeting was chieftaincy disputes in Ghana. Tell us more.
Yeah, so those present at that meeting, we have the Chief of Defense Staff who was there, the Inspector General of Police. We also have the head of the Ghana Immigration Service. We have the Fire Service boss. All of them were present, at that particular meeting. And there he mentioned that chieftaincy disputes is one major security concern that we need to pay attention to. And he had mentioned it, he mentioned it actually earlier, that was yesterday, during a meeting with the National House of Chiefs. He mentioned that after his election, all the security briefings that he has received, one major issue, security issue that keeps coming up is the issue of chieftaincy disputes.
This last election has cemented our reputation as the leading democracy in Africa, and a good part of the thanks go to you, the security services, who have maintained the peace. We still have threats to our peace that we must continue to look at internally and externally. Internally, to do with chieftaincy disputes and some incidents of armed robbery and things like that. Externally, to do with the threats on our northern borders. And so we cannot let our vigilance down. There should be no vacuum. And so you must all continue to work, as the CDS said, zealously to make sure that there's no breach of the peace in the country. And so I want to thank you for all the work you're doing. We're working hard to set up the Council of State so that we can start to put the controlling boards of all the services and all the government parastatals in place. And so once we have the Armed Forces Council and the Prisons Council and all of them set up, all your service councils, we're sure that we'll begin to look at how to manage things in respect of any outstanding issues that exist. But in the meantime, I expect you all to work very closely together like you've been doing and continue to keep the country safe for all of us. And so I want to thank you for attending to our call at quite short notice, and to ask you to continue to work in the interests of the people of Ghana.
So that was President John Dramani Mahama speaking at a meeting with the heads of the state security agencies. Now, from Bawku, the president moved to Nalergu in the northeast region to continue with his peace mission there. This is top story. Let's go onto the phone lines now and speak to international relations expert and security analyst, Professor Vladimir Enchidan. So, Prof, grateful to you for joining us here. First off, what do you make of this peace mission by President John Mahama?
And good evening to your listeners. I'm really proud of the president. I'm extremely proud, not because it's my field, but prioritizing security and linking it up with our democracy is very, very important. Most of the areas where you have instability is because internal insecurity has created the platform for derailing democracy. So this mission is very, very important. And he's talking to people who must be involved in the liquidation of this insecurity situation in those areas that he's visiting. So I'm very proud that he's prioritizing security as the base and fundamental pivot of our democracy, and that is very good.
And what do you anticipate will be the impact of this visit by the president?
It's going to be a great impact because at least the people within the area, and no security issue is resolved without the people involved. Now that they see him as a person who has just sat on the throne and visited, they will themselves realize that here is a person who is putting more efforts into what others have done. That he's come there personally himself and is asking them to realize that insecurity is not part of our democracy. It cannot be part of our democracy. Here it is again that he has spoken to security agencies, the top echelon of the security agencies. He's spoken to people who have to be involved in the resolution of anything over there. And I believe that it will sink in. It will have a great impact on the people and all those agencies that need to work towards the liquidation of insecurity situation in Bawku area.
Prof, do stay with me. Let me bring in Dr. Victor Doke. He is lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center and a security analyst as well. Doctor, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Now, the Bawku issue has been on the table for quite some time. The president has been there today. What do you think must be done in order to bring that lasting solution the president is looking for?
Thank you very much and Happy New Year. First of all, let's go back a bit. When the late John Evans Atamas was president, we had the now President Mahama as a vice, where he was tasked to go to Bawku when there was, violent confrontations between the two conflict actors. Now, that was his engagement with them. And then when he became president also, he had, some engagement with the conflict actors. So the president has had foreknowledge, knows a bit about the historical antecedents of this conflict. And then when he was vice president and then president, had some mechanisms to curb the armed confrontations to ensure that the proximate factors that enable the violent confrontations were kept somewhat. Now, you are rest assured that with what he is doing now, the first trip inland to the area makes us or gives us an impression that he wants to find a lasting solution to this conflict. That one, economically, is draining the country. Two, that is making it, probably possible for armed elements to have a way to infiltrate from the northern side. So, with what has to be done, one, he's stated he has to appoint with regards to the various security heads that he mentioned. It has to be done quickly. Now, these personalities who have to be appointed have to have some foreknowledge, the skill with regards to chieftaincy conflict, i.e., in particular, Bawku, so that they can bring out the solutions that the two parties would agree to, but not to be forced on them. You keep the personnel there to enforce the curfews, then you engage in sustained engagements with the two sides. Now, let me state categorically clear that the Bawku Ethnic Peace Committee has been somewhat redundant for some time now. Immediately he appoints those security heads, the Minister for Chieftaincy. They should ensure through the National Peace Council that the Bawku Ethnic Peace Committee is revived again. This homegrown policy or homegrown institution is what has been leading somewhat negotiations between the two sides. Now, the committee consists of all members representing the ethnic groups. If you do all these appointments, you put everything in place without a committee, you are likely to face challenges. Get the committee working, resource the committee, and then with the appointments, you get a holistic stakeholder, multi-stakeholder consultations for ideas with regards to finalizing the conflict. For the other aspects with regards to the rival chief in there, when the committee sits, when all the security heads are appointed, there will be a solution to that incident. So we are talking about two different things here. The rival chief, his presence, and then looking at resolving or addressing the conflict finally.
Well, quite some insights there. Let me bring in Professor Vladimir Introdanso here. Prof, you've heard the issue about chieftaincy dispute. The president has acknowledged that, and it looks like the Bawku conflict is around the same issue. How then can the president, taking cognizance of the fact that this is about chieftaincy dispute, should he approach this to get that desired result he's looking for? Because it's about people who disagree in terms of who should become a chief of an area.
Well, the Bawku issue is not one of chieftaincy alone. My advice to the president is that, yes, my colleague is talking about the committee to be revived for it to work. No amount of witchery or prayers can make a committee successful unless we understand the conflict better and the causal effect. The main problem in Bawku is multi-causal, in the sense that it is politics, it is history, narration of history, it is chieftaincy, it is land. It's a complex nature of the thing. And if you don't understand the pillars that are propping the conflict, you may make a mistake of just setting up committees and they go and talk. We need to remove the pillars one by one. And the committee must understand what is propping the conflict. If you do the conflict analysis properly, you see, is it the history that has not been properly located or narrated? Let's look at that seriously. Is it chieftaincy? Let's look at that. And remove them one by one. For me, one of the biggest props, and it is the biggest in the Bawku issue, is politics, Ghanaian politics. Underlying all the Bawku problems is also politics. So let us not just say it is chieftaincy. The chieftaincy is there, yes, but politics is exacerbating the situation. The president must be apprised of all these problems so that he knows where to tackle and what to do from the beginning. Ab initio, if he doesn't understand it, we have in the past sent soldiers. That is the kinetic approach to conflict. Their presence dies the conflict a little, and it is resurrected when they are away. Let us now be more comprehensive. Let us understand the conflict and remove the pillars one by one. And I think in this, the president must also rely on experts. He must rely on think tanks who understand conflict analysis. He must rely on the eminent persons, the track two kind of diplomacy. The Santini did very well, Utumfo did very well in the Dagon situation. Can we have a similar situation aided strongly by research and by proper analysis? Because it is the improper analysis of the Bawku situation that has caused it to be intractable.
But from the moves he's done now, I mean, he's been vice president before, he's been president before, this issue has been there. But from what he's done now, do you have the sense of belief that he may succeed this time around?
If all that I'm saying is well understood by him, he's got the experience, I understand. He's got the stature, he's got the respect. But respect is respect. You go there and the people will say, yes, sir, turn round. And you realize what happens. So I'm saying that it must be comprehensive now. If you want to take away a stump, you remove it from the roots, and then there will be no stump anymore. And that's all I'm alluding to.
So let me bring in now Stephen Asamoah Boateng. He is the immediate past chieftaincy minister, and he's joined us on the line. But in the last concluding part of your era, you made the Bawku chieftaincy issues one of the major things you were dealing with. So you have some experience. What would you tell the current president and his government to do in order to get the results that we're all looking for as a state?
Thank you very much. Indeed, it wasn't even at the concluding part of my term. Bawku was my first first place I went. Immediately I was sworn in. I was sworn in on the 4th of April 2023. On the 5th or 6th, I was in Nairobi on the Bawku conflict. From there, a week later, I went to Bawku proper. and I made it quite clear it was the priority of my ministry to try and resolve it and bring lasting peace. Indeed, at some point I was moving so smoothly, getting all parties involved in talking. Indeed, I went to my own old man father, Abugrago Azigri Azoka, the second of Bawku, the Bawku Naba. I also went to the Nairi and also went to the palace, and I got the two talking to me. It was difficult before I came into the ministry for them to share their innermost thoughts, but they were talking, and that gave me the opportunity to present a paper to cabinet, and for cabinet to find a solution that takes the politics out of it. But that's how I found out that politically there were undertones. And so me being a politician as well, but we must take ourselves and give it back to the chiefs. And so we then handed over the responsibility of finding the peace led by Otumfo, the Asantehene, Otumfo to the second. So that's how it was started. And it was moving very smoothly. Indeed, one of the things that I managed to do is to bring in all, apart from the chiefs who came in to lead, even the undertones where I saw the political undertones, I was engaging all sides. Indeed, two people I talked to quite often was Mahama Yarga, who is a young brother of mine from the NDC. Came to my office. We had a very good chat. I also spoke to my own old brother, Avoka. And so politically, I took us out of the party ownership and we were engaging ourselves. So that's what the advice I'll give to the current president, that Bawku is so sensitive, the Bawku matter is very sensitive, emotional. And so politically, if we want to do something as politicians, it must be undertone, but engage everybody. But really, I would suggest that it continues with the chiefs, led by, you might want to change it, but Otumfo has a very good advantage of knowing the history and everything, and maybe bring in the other traditional authorities like the Yegbonra and also the Yana, because I spoke to both, and they were talking to the two factions behind the scenes. So that's how I would approach it, or I would advise if they want to have a lasting peace.
Your work as the minister, from that experience, what do you think this government should not be doing in trying to deal with the Bawku issue?
First of all, don't appoint a native of the Bawku or the Kusak to be the regional minister. That's number one. Don't do it. It's emotional subject, and the native always, if you are not careful, have some emotions with it. And I liken that to be the Dagbon issue. If you remember the Dagbon crisis when it was spilling out, the former president J. Kufuor appointed a blonde man, Kweku Debra, and there's Kweku Debra, if you remember.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but that is the former chieftaincy minister Stephen Asamoah Boateng, who's sharing with us, what he did as a minister and what he thinks this government should not do, and what he thinks they should do in order to win it. So I have you back. You were talking about appointment, and you mentioned someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as I said, Kweku Debra from Bono Ahafo region went to Tamale and began the process of healing. So that's number one. And then if you remember, he was followed by Sadiq Abubakar, who was a Dagomba, who was a Gonja. So that helped to settle the Dagomba, the Dagbon crisis. Similarly, with the Bawku issue, I would advise no native is taking there now in this sensitive matter. Number two is, as I said earlier, is to talk to the political side so that everybody stays out. It should never be a political issue. It's a chieftaincy and land matter, and this matter had traveled to the courts. It's gone to the chiefs. So there are people on both sides who are intransigent. There are compromises in the middle. So we need to find a middle ground, and the truth must be told, and people who are courageous and bold must come in. And so the actors should be still in the background, advise if there's a need for us to get involved, but led by the key paramount chiefs. And we suggested and had Otumfo leading it. But I also made sure I spoke to the Yana, I spoke to the Yebunra, who were also doing behind the scenes. So they can try, led by the chiefs, but politically we should take ourselves out and then do the background work and give information and how to go about it in the background.
I'm still staying with you because you've done a lot of work on this. What should be the...
And I almost succeeded. Unfortunately, somehow Abagri found himself in Bawku, and that erupted before we left office. Very sad, very, very sad. That would have been my most key achievements at the ministry. I did it. When I look back, I just don't know what happened just before the election, and the gentleman found himself in Bawku.
So what should be the first thing to do now?
As I said, the appointment is important. You need a courageous, non-native, truthful, honest guy who would be honest with both sides and tell them in the face the truth. On air, I can't tell you some of them the truth I said, and maybe at some point you get to know when I put pen to paper or I talk to them if somebody approaches me. There are certain basics that must be told, and everybody must know their limit in the conflict. So you need a bold, honest character to lead the region, and have access to both policies. The person must have access to both policies, because when there are two sides to this issue, if you don't have somebody with both access, you can't have a leeway. But the person must not be the lead who solves it. It is the chiefs. The chiefs themselves must find a bold solutions and tell in the face who is wrong, who is right. That's my advice.
I'm grateful to you. Stephen Asamoah Boateng is former chieftaincy minister. And you also heard earlier Professor Vladimir Nchudanso is Dean, Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, and also an international relations expert. You also heard Dr. Victor Doke, he is a lecturer, Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. This has been Top Story, brought to you by Telecel and Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Up next is Newsnight.
Live on Joy 99.7 FM, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, myjoyonline.com. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. Tonight, NDC government's plan to reintroduce regional and district tribunals to handle criminal cases stokes controversy at Parliament's Appointment Committee, but Attorney General designate says there is no cause for alarm.
We want to go back and align with the internal logic of Article 125, Clause 1, that there must be participation by ordinary people in the administration of justice.
We have details as he puts up a spirited defense for the oral committee set up by John Mahama, despite the contention by some that it is an unconstitutional creation.
Oral is supposed to exact accountability from persons either politically exposed or persons holding public office who used or misused their office.
Plus, a focus on Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin's attempt to steal show at the appointment committee sitting yesterday with his persistent challenge of the authority of the chairman and clashes with NDC MPs on the committee.
You're right, no problem. You will listen to me, Chairman. You can't say out of. You can say you've said that to my members. If you now want to extend it to me that I'm out of order and all that, let's have.
Also tonight,
I've asked the Chief of Staff to work with the Ghana Education Service to allocate and evacuate food that is currently held in warehouses in Teman.
2 days after President Mahama's directive to dispatch emergency food supplies to schools following shortage, checks reveal schools yet to receive food as heads continue to struggle to feed students in their care. Details as the concerned National Council of Parents Association steps in, directing schools to use Parents Association funds while the government scrambles to fulfill its promise.
So we just have to keep it that the present way will fast track this process. But we are also urging our PTA school-based executives that they should continue to use the PTA fund to support and complement the efforts of government.
And then coming up as well.
Measuring weight and people are talking about efficiency. We do not see it as the way to go, because if you bring it together under one umbrella, you have then stifled weight or VRA from going their separate way to source for funding.
We'll talk about the renewed resistance to a VRA buoy power measure in any form by workers after Energy Minister designate John Jinapor's justification of the move before the Appointments Committee.
So when you measure them, you have a holding company and 3 subsidiaries: hydro components, thermal components, and renewable components, all under one umbrella, but controlled by both VRA and buoy.
In business, Finance Minister designate Dr. Atuforsen promises to work with the Agric Ministry to help reduce rising food prices on the market.
And in sports, Ghana Football Association appoints Swedish tactician Kim Lars as new head coach of the Black Queens. We'll bring you details on this very latest.
And Ken, it's time for you to nominate that silent hero making a difference in your community as nominations open for Joy News Impact Makers Awards 2025. I told you all about how to send in your entries.
Exactly, and the world celebrates the remarkable music life of founding member, saxophonist and the legendary Tetsi Osei of Osibisa Music Band, who passed early this morning.
My name is Osei. My showbiz name is Teddy.
That and more in tonight's edition of Newsnight. You want to join us with your thoughts, your comments via WhatsApp. It's 055-1111-997. You have any comments also, you can leave it on our social media platforms with the hashtag Newsnight. I am Emefa Apawu.
And I am Kenneth. Gyasi. Details next.
After the break.
Every woman, from the young lady brimming with exciting and novel business ideas to the market queen managing her empire, there's the she architect, quantity surveyor, realtor, business consultant, crafting dreams into reality, and the multitasking mom seamlessly blending work at home, the entrepreneur meticulously checking stock, to the corporate woman sealing deals on the move. Indeed, there's a business in every woman. Introducing Telecel Women in Business, our initiative to empower women-led and women-owned enterprises. Benefit from tailored activities, networking, business and technical support, free webinars, trainings, and more. To join this initiative, be a female-led business and a Telecel business customer. Visit telecel.com.gh/business to register now.
Telecel, connecting energies.
On our very first edition of 40 Weeks and More, our guest, Whitney Boache-Mensah, shares her story of how she had 7 miscarriages and 2 stillbirths ahead of her 3 miraculous sunshines. What could have been the cause? How did she keep picking herself up after each failure? Was it spiritual? Can you begin to imagine all the places she had to go in search of answers? But it all ended up in praise. 3 sons after all those difficult times. Join us on Joy Prime this Saturday at 5 p.m. for our debut edition of 40 Weeks and More with Edem Naite. You can also catch it on YouTube on the Family Forum Africa channel, where you get to win amazing prizes from our sponsors by simply subscribing. 40 Weeks and More is brought to you by NS Chemist Limited, Shape Healthcare Specialist Medical Center, Labadi Beach Hotel, and supported by Our Luri, Dobeta Merchandise, Lunch Avenue, and Deco Zone. For sponsorship, please contact 059-288-9986 or 0262-874-707. 40 Weeks and More, nurturing lives.
You're welcome back. And tonight, the plans of the NDC government to reintroduce the regional and district tribunals to handle criminal cases is stoking controversy. At the appointment committee on Monday, Attorney General and Minister for Justice designate Dr. Dominic Ayini defended the plan outlined in the NDC's 2024 election manifesto. According to Dr. Ayini, John Mahama's vision is to ensure the public have a direct role to play in the criminal justice system.
In terms of Article 25(1), it is provided that justice emanates from the people and will be administered in their name, in accordance by the judiciary and in accordance with the Constitution. So it creates 142 creates the regional tribunals, which have coordinate criminal jurisdiction with the High Court, all right, in all respects. And then it says that Parliament may by law establish such, courts and tribunals, that is inferior courts and tribunals, as it deems fit. Okay. Now, to the question why we want to bring back the public tribunals, we want to go back and align with the internal logic of Article 125, Clause 1, that there must be participation by ordinary people in the administration of justice. If you recall, all the tribunals, district tribunals, circuit tribunals, regional tribunals, had a chairperson or chairman and two who was, mandatorily required to be a lawyer, and two, other persons who were non-lawyers selected from the community. So aside the traditional jury system that allows, ordinary citizens to participate in the administration of justice in a limited fashion, the PNDC, in its wisdom, broadened public participation in the administration of justice through the tribunal system.
Dr. Dominic Ayini also allayed fears the tribunals will act like they did in the revolutionary era, but will operate in accordance with law and respect the constitutional rights of all accused persons.
The empirical evidence for, a report dated very close to the first quarter of 1992 would have been from the pre-constitutional, era, when the public tribunals were administering revolutionary justice in the context of PNDC Law 1. Now, if you look at PNDC Law 1, there was no human rights chapter. That was the Grundnorm. That was the constitution, the fundamental law of the land at the time. There was no human rights chapter. In resetting Ghana, we will reset it in accordance with the 1992 constitution. And the 1992 constitution is very clear, that the sovereign power of Ghana rests in the people of Ghana, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government should be exercised in accordance with this constitution. Governmental powers includes the powers exercised by the judiciary of our land. That includes the public tribunals. I believe that it is not your view, honorable member, that the public tribunals would not or are not part of the judiciary. They are part of the chapter on the judiciary. And so they will be bound by Chapter 5, the human rights provisions, and the entire constitution.
Let's have a conversation on the back of this and speak to former Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuah-Yeboah and former Director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Ansa Asari.
Well, before you get into that, though, Ken, we have news coming in. At this point, we're expecting a lot of appointments. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We'll come to you shortly on this, but our Presidential Affairs correspondent has just joined us in the studio, Maxwell Agbogba. We have another set of appointments, this time regional ministers. Walk us through them.
The first batch of regional ministers, 10 of them, we have them here so far, and this is coming from the presidency. So first, Northern Region, we have Ali Adolf John, Northern Region. Oti Region, John Kojo Japan. Volta Region, we have James Gunu. Eastern Region, we have Rita Akosua Eje Awate. Northeast, we have Ibrahim Tia. Ashanti Region, we have Dr. Frank Amwakuhene. Upper East, we have Akamugri Donatu Satanga. Ahafo Region, we have Charity Gardner. Savannah Region, we have Salisu B. Aworibi. And in Greater Accra Region, we have Linda Oklu. So it is the first batch of regional ministers, 10 of them, and then he goes ahead to give us the profile of those who have been nominated.
Were you giving any reason in that statement as to why we don't have the full complement of the 16 regional ministers but 10?
No, this release signed by the acting spokesperson to the president did not state that.
Thank you very much. That's our presidential affairs correspondent, Maxwell Agbagba, giving us details of that first batch of regional ministers. And we have Northern, Ali, Adolf, John, Oti region, John, Kojo Japong, Volta region, James Guno, Eastern region, Rita, Akusia Eje Awate, Northeast region, Ibrahim Tia, the Ashanti region, we have Dr. Frank Amwakohene, Upper East region, Akamugri, Donato Satanga, Ahafu region, Charity Gardner, Savannah, Salisu B. Awuribi, and for the Greater Accra region, Linda Oklu.
Right, Emefa, let's take you back to our earlier story where the Attorney General designate Dominic Ayine has indicated that the NDC government will reintroduce the tribunals, and we have on the telephone line Alfred Tuya Yeboah, who is a former Deputy Attorney General, and also Kweku Asare, who is a former Director of the Ghana School of Law. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. Let me start with you, former Deputy Attorney General. As a former AG, what are your thoughts on the reintroduction of the tribunals?
Thank you very much, my brother. Yes, I've followed the discussions, and my initial comments are very simple. Regional tribunals are outdated. They are not needed at this time. It is true that in our constitution, there are provisions dealing with the authority of regional tribunals. This is also true that in our Courts Act, there are provisions dealing with regional tribunals. But let's take it. Now, from 1993 up to today, the only regime that actually used or utilized regional tribunals, I would say, was the Rawlings regime. At a point in time, regional tribunals fizzled out. And if listeners will remember, in 2010, the late President, Professor Mills, established a commission to review the Constitution. In the wisdom of the commissioners, they made some recommendations. In the wisdom of the then President, now the President of Ghana, President Mahama, a white paper was issued. In that white paper, the government accepted that regional tribunals should have no space in our judicial system, and that the constitution should be amended to take it from our statute books. So actually, I'm surprised that almost 34 years, we are seeking to, almost 32 years, we are seeking to bring back regional tribunals.
I'm curious though, Mr. Tiamwa.
The reason why I'm saying we should not bring it back.
Mr. Tiamwa, just quickly, a quick intervention. Did we successfully expunge it from the books? Did we?
Pardon?
I'm asking if we're successful in expunging it from the books. You talked about 32 years ago.
As we speak, it's still part of our constitution. I consider still it is part of our constitution. But in 2010, the same party in government set up a commission of inquiry. The commission came to a conclusion and made some recommendations. The same party, with a certain president now, being the president then, issued a white paper, accepting by saying that regional tribunal should not form part of our constitution. And that is one of the provisions that we need to amend. So why are we trying to bring it back now to spend taxpayers' money in setting up such courts? What are the reasons? Now, the judiciary draws its expenditure or its income from the consolidated fund. As we have it now, the high courts are dealing with all matters. The judges in the high courts are paid by the state. Unless this introduction is an attempt to create more layers so that we can spend more for the taxpayers' coffers. Otherwise, I see no need.
Okay. Mr. Former Deputy AG, I'll come back to you, but let me go to Kweku Ansa Asare. Kweku, with the reintroduction of the tribunals as hinted by the incoming AG, would you say that's good news?
And that not at all. Let me make this point clear. Under the Constitution, Parliament, under Article 126, Clause 1, Paragraph B, will be entitled or shall be entitled to establish such lower courts or tribunal as Parliament by law established. This clause has not been amended, and therefore I'm sure that my good friend Dominic Ayine, had a look at it before making the pronouncement, but it will not augur well, for the Mahama government, and for the people of Ghana, for a number of reasons. First of all, in 1981, 1982, when the tribunal concept evolved, there was no constitution. And therefore, Rawlings could do as he pleased. Today, we have a constitution. And the preamble, to the constitution, is clear that we, the people of Ghana, in exercise of our natural and inalienable right to establish a framework of government which shall secure for ourselves and prosperity the blessings of liberty, equality of opportunity, and prosperity. And then we have a whole chapter 5, devoted to fundamental human rights and the protection of everything that we are enjoying. Thirdly, we have the Western type court system that has been with us since the 1830s. We've practiced the Western model since 1830, and we are still in love with that.
Okay.
Why would the Mahama government try to bring back this atrocious, obnoxious, canker? It was evil. The tribunal system was very evil, and the people behind it were described as, devilish. Why would they want to do that?
That means you do not support it at all. You want them to pull the brakes and suspend it, at least.
I don't support it. In fact, it shall be fiercely resisted. Mind you, we have an Article 2, which enjoins any person, who feels that his constitutional, right is being threatened, to go to the Supreme Court. And if they try, so a person who alleges that this is going to be invoked, and it will make Mahama's work very unpleasant, that every now and then people will go to court, to fight in defense of the Constitution and to uphold our socio-cultural values as a nation, as a people. Now, I know, I concede that the Circuit Tribunal, the community tribunals were established, under the Constitution, but the Courts Act was amended to take them away. The Regional Tribunal, a lot of the functions of the Regional Tribunal has been transferred to Yoku. So,
okay.
The Regional Tribunal, is moribund. Nobody, is dead. Is awaiting a decent, funeral and burial. Now, any step to reactivate them to be safely resisted. I don't think, it is a right thing, for a government that is riding on the tidal waves, of Ghanaians, should all of a sudden bring this back. I think that we are being ill-advised.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Ansa Asare there, thank you very much. He's the former director of the Ghana School of Law. But I still have the former Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Tuya Yeboah, with me. Alfred, you were raising concerns that this appears to be an avenue for more money to be distributed. But what else are you picking that we are not aware of?
Yes. Now, if you look at the tribunal system, they rely on panel members. Now, if they decide to go that way, it will mean that they have to appoint panel members. And these panel members will have to be paid. Now, when it comes to decision making, as we have it now in the Constitution and the Court Act, the tribunal will sit with 3 members, with the judge presiding, and then 2 other members, or they can be 4, 6. And anytime they have to take a decision on a matter, it's by majority. So the 2 lay people can overrule the judge and have to go on appeal. I mean, this system, in this era, we have a lot of lawyers. In fact, those days, in the 90s, in the 80s, we had only few lawyers in Ghana. But in Ghana now, we're able to produce not less than 1,000 lawyers in a year. So on what basis are we going to say that we want to introduce tribunal system?
But how about the justification also, the concern actually that there's a lack of trust for the judicial system, for which reason this tribunal system is being introduced? It is a no-no for you when it comes to that as well?
I mean, you don't have any perfect system anywhere. Judiciary, as we have it in Ghana, may have problems. But is that the way to address the problems? No. Now go to the courts in Accra and in the regions. Judges sit and they write with long hands. Well, we have to be thinking about how we can modernize our courts so they can work efficiently and effectively. It does not lie in creating more layers of court, where we are going to have a judge sitting with 2 non-lawyers or non-judges and they'll be passing judgment on people. Don't forget that now we have the jury system. And even with the jury system, there's a strong argument for it to be abolished. Why? Because you have 7 ordinary Ghanaians like you who sit on a matter, that's no problem. Mm-hmm. But look at the time that they spend in hearing cases. Sometimes, if one of them dies, you have to start the case de novo. Even with that, if one of them is not able to attend trial on a specific date, the case does not proceed. We want us to go back to that system where we have 2 other members who join a judge, and then you go today, one of them is not there, you have to again, or one of them dies, you have to come back. I mean, it's a system that we must not even be taking. It's so weird.
Right. Okay. Alfred Tuayeboa is a former Deputy Attorney General, and earlier we heard from Kweku Ansa Asare, who is also the former director at the Ghana School of Law. Emefa, we're going to Parliament now.
Well, we'll stay a while longer there because we know that there was also some justification given to the oral committee chaired by Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. Well, there have been concerns about the constitutionality of that. We heard Dr. Dominic Kayene justify that. But of course, yesterday at the Appointments Committee also, we saw that the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin's display at the hearing of the Appointments Committee has become the subject of talk and public discussion. Well, the Futu MP's conduct, we've been told, has been described by some as disruptive, while others have said he was simply doing his job as the leader of the opposition. Here's exactly what happened.
While he was not one of the persons nominated to be vetted, Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin became a central highlight of Monday's sitting of the Appointments Committee. His tussle with Chairman Bernard Ahiafo and occasional clashes with the majority members of the committee has since become the talk of town.
You're right, no problem. You will listen to me, Chairman. You can't say you've said that to my members. If you now want to extend it to mean that I'm out of order and order, let's have...
The minority leader first started with a lengthy remark at the start of the vetting process, which the NDC likened to a press conference.
This thoughts is unacceptable. Now, post-election violence and national security.
Mr. Chairman,
and
Mr. Chairman, please. Honorable Mahama Yerga.
Okay.
With all due respect, for the minority leader to use this platform as a press conference, I think is not the best.
The minority leader then clashed with the NDC MPs, who he accused of being intolerant.
You would always want to have your say, but you don't want others to speak. That is your problem, NDC. That is your problem.
There was a sharp response from the majority chief whip.
What the minority leader said about NDC being intolerant or they have been more cooperative is totally untrue.
Later, Alexander Afenyo-Markin said he believed as ranking member of the appointment committee, he is the co-chair.
What our standing orders is trying to say is that there is a presumption of a
chairing of this exercise? No. There's only one chairman. Only one chairman. We don't have co-chair of this committee. And the rules of this house is that we allow the chairman to lead us and direct everybody so that we can have an orderly business. It is as if he is not respecting the chair.
After several intense back and forth, Alexander Afenyo-Markin walked out.
We are here to guide you.
Then you guys should do your thing since you are your majority. If that's what you do,
we are to guide you.
He returned after a few minutes. His referral to some of the guests of the nominees as foot soldiers also drew the anger of the NDC.
I referred to some of our citizens sitting behind the nominee as foot soldiers who were brought here to make noise. I take an objection to that. Foot soldiers brought myself and the minority leader here. So their presence at veterans cannot be a nuisance.
Bernard Ahiafo, who is new to the appointment committee and now chairing it, has received considerable backlash from the public, with some arguing he failed to rein in the minority leader and take charge of his committee. Kweku Asante for Joy News.
That's our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, with that report. But let me take some brief comments from Dr. Rashid Rahman, Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Many thanks for your company here on Newsnight. So it's just day one of the vetings, and many are already describing Alexander Afenyo-Markin's act as very disruptive. But isn't that what is expected of a minority leader?
Well, I mean, that's what is expected, Emefa. The appointments committee over the years, for me, has become, if you like, a theater rather than a place for very sober reflections where we have our senior and very well carefully selected MPs who go to sit there to ensure that those we are entrusting with the responsibility to lead the affairs of our country are people that can really do the job. Look, why is it that, I mean, year in, year out, whenever we hear an argument between the chair of the appointments committee and a member, it's usually people from opposite parties. You know, why is it that the committee, if it is really minded to do a job that is for this country and that is not partisan, they don't have, if you like, maybe a kind of pre-committee meeting where they have a very clear legislative strategy in terms of how they are going to handle nominees. We see them come in and it's NDC versus MPP. I think that we are not getting the value that we are looking for in this very important committee, which is one of the few that we see in public. And when people say parliamentary committees are the engine rooms of any legislature, it means that is a place where very serious work is done and the theatricals are left to the plenary. But we are seeing our MPs transfer these theatricals to very important committees like the appointments committee. And for me, I think this must stop. This must stop. I think they need to get their act in order, Emefa, and try to put aside their partisan considerations and an effort to score political points. They should go and do the business of this country and make sure that the people that have been nominated by His Excellency the President are people who can really do.
Okay, we are grateful. That's Dr. Rashid Rahman, Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. It's time for business with George Yafi. When we return, we'll talk about the food situation in the various senior high schools, plus the renewed resistance to a VRA Bui power measure in any form by workers after Energy Minister designate John Jinapo's justification of the move before the Appointments Committee. Ken, let's bring in George at this point.
Exactly, George.
Take
over.
And
you're talking about food. The Finance Minister designate, Dr. Atuforsen, has also been talking about what he'll be doing together with their great ministry to try and keep prices of food at a very, very low level, as well as control inflation.
Yeah.
Also, the Bank of Ghana highlights the impact of the gold purchase program in expansion of the economy and stabilizing the city over the past months. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Sinter Stanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Jackal.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
"It's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all."
Shout! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information. We are good together everywhere you go.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Yafini give us the vibe. Now, Inshona Chile makes you thrive.
Yes, so it's time to enjoy, Charlie. Buy or renew your motor insurance and boom! Free fuel coupons and airtime for your sweat. Who no like enjoyment?
From January to June 2025, Enterprise Insurance gives you more reasons to smile on the road. Insure today and enjoy free fuel coupons for your car and airtime for your phone.
Free fuel? Airtime too? Hey! Enterprise Insurance, always your advantage.
Insure not Chile. It's simple. Insure and enjoy. Ready to secure your peace of mind and experience the fastest claims payment? Visit any of our branches or agency outlets nationwide. Connect with your insurance broker or enjoy the convenience of buying your insurance online through the Enterprise Advantage app today. Terms and conditions apply.
Enterprise, your advantage.
First Sky Group, a wholly owned Guinean company made up of First Sky Construction, First Sky Bitumen Processing, First Sky Commodities, Volta Serene Hotel, Western Serene Atlantic Hotel, Serene Insurance, First Sky Energies, and Federal Rural Bank warmly invites you to its 22nd Thanksgiving service on the theme Proclaiming God's Unfailing Love, Romans 8:37. The Thanksgiving service in 2 parts will be hosted by the founder and executive chairman, Mr. Eric Sedi Kutoche. There'll be an all-night service on Friday, 17th January 2025 from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. at the Trinity Temple Assemblies of God Church, TTAG Community 10, Tema. Ministering in word, Reverend Mark Sessi, National Missions Director, Assemblies of God, Sierra Leone. Reverend Sujit Alex, FAM's North Area Leader, Assemblies of God, UK. Thanksgiving service follows on Sunday, 19th January 2025 at the main auditorium of the Accra International Conference Center. The time is 10 a.m. Guest speaker, Reverend Stephen Yensum Wingham, General Superintendent, Assemblies of God, Ghana. Chairman for the occasion, Most Reverend Professor Johnson Kwabena Asamoah Jedu, the presiding bishop, the Methodist Church Ghana. Ministering in music will be MOG Music. Also in attendance will be His Eminence Right Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, Reverend Professor Paul Frimpong Manso, Immediate Past General Superintendent, Assemblies of God, Ghana, Apostle General Sam Kwanchi Ankara, Royal House Chapel International, Reverend Steve Mensah, Charismatic Evangelistic Ministry, Most Reverend Dr. Paul Boafu, Apostle Professor Kojo Opoku Onina, Reverend Dr. Lawrence Tete, Reverend Dr. Sylvanus Amegashiti, Elom Group Corporate Chaplain, First Sky Group, and many other senior clergy. For more details, please call 020-854-3441 or 0248-940-021. First Sky Group 22nd Thanksgiving Service, proclaiming God's unfailing love.
Businesses know how important it is to create a productive and supportive working environment by investing in employees' health. With a leading international track record, Apex Health Insurance is licensed to provide medical insurance services to corporate organizations and SMEs. We also have international LH Blue cover and TPAs to cushion you. Multinational companies, factories, and government agencies, focus on your business while Apex Insurance takes care of your health. Visit Apex Health Insurance office at Zion House, Boundary Road, Shiashi, Kumasi, opposite Prempeh College, Sofo Line, and Takrady Market Circle. For further inquiries, call 0501 562 962 or 0501 552 495. Apex Health, your preferred health insurer.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Finance Minister Designate Dr. Atuforsen is promising to work closely with the Agric Ministry to help reduce rising prices of food on the market. The minister gave this assurance when he appeared before the Appointment Committee of Parliament. There is more in this report.
Engaging members of Parliament's Appointment Committee, Finance Minister Designate Atuforsen noted that this might be one of the surest ways to help bring inflation down to appreciable level.
As Minister, I will allocate resources in consultation with Cabinet to government policy of agriculture for economic transformation to make food cheaper. That in itself will help make food available. We will work with the Bank of Ghana to reduce inflation to 8% plus or minus 2. In the shortest possible time. And how do we do this? From the fiscal side, we will front load fiscal consolidation.
However, there are some who have argued that the challenge with inflation may not be just about food and their prices, but also an element of government spending. Therefore, containing expenditure might also help. Cocoa prices have hit record levels in recent times, and Finance Minister Designate has revealed that he is committed to ensuring that farmers in Ghana get fair value for their produce in the coming month. Meanwhile, the Finance Minister Designate has revealed that government could be paying $1 billion every year as debt repayment for Eurobond holders.
And that is a business text report. Meanwhile, financial economist Professor Lord Mensah has maintained that giving greater attention to checking inflation could be one of the best ways to help fast-track economic recovery. He's been reacting to some of the policy proposals by the Finance Minister Designate.
With focus on exchange rate stability and inflation means that Atuforsen, appreciate the channels through which we get our inflation numbers in this country. And we all appreciate that. One of them is through Forex, which I call it imported inflation. If he's able to stabilize the exchange rate and then be able to control inflation, we should be able to have stability in prices on our market. And so if that is his focus, I think he appreciates, the economic dynamics.
Financial economist Professor Lord Mensah. So what has been the response coming from the business community on the policy proposals pushed forward by the Finance Minister Designate Dr. Atuforsen? Mark Bedouabuachi is Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Propose a number of measures that for me, if he's able to do them, it will help us. He indicated that managing the economy is not only at the macro level, but the micro level is critical. That's where the businesses are. The macro level will create the environment, but the micro level is the productive sector. How is going to support the productive sector to expand and also to employ more people is also very key. So just the combination of the micro and the macro is good for every economy to succeed. We have concentrated over the years with the macro, with the inflation, leaving the micro. And if you want to reduce inflation, you need to look at the micro, you need to look at the agricultural sector, you need to look at the manufacturing sector. If you want to stabilize your currency, then the manufacturing sector and the productive sector should also be supported so that you don't import the goods that you are importing because they will be produced locally.
Mark Bedwa-Boaji is Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Now, the Bank of Ghana has indicated that its gold purchase program played a critical role in the expansion of the economy for the third quarter of last year and the city stability over the past months. The Bank of Ghana in 2021 rolled out a program aimed at buying more gold locally to support its reserves. It's now put at about more than $9 billion. Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison noted the program might have been one of the best things that helped in stabilizing the local currency.
We've always underestimated how much gold that we had. Now, from this program, I think we can see, since we started, we've almost bought $9 billion worth of gold. Where was all of that gold going before? Anchor. And Anchor really holds things, right? So that's the fiscal anchor. In addition to the fiscal anchor, you also need the monetary anchor so that the liquidity is properly managed from the monetary policy side. Now, these two anchors are what will hold the price level, right, as well as the exchange rate. So you need both to work together to deliver the stability that we are all looking at.
Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison. Now, Senior Manager for Tax and Regulatory at Deloitte Ghana, Gilbert Yurinchiadu, has admonished small and medium-sized businesses to take advantage of available incentives for startups and young entrepreneurs by studying Ghana's tax laws. He spoke on Joy Business Advisory Series, a 2-week program aimed at equipping small businesses with the financial and business development insights for the new year.
Fortunately, you could see the drive based on how the tax law is structured. It's geared towards manufacturing. So for those who find themselves in those sub-regions, we have what we call the Young Entrepreneurship Tax Incentive. These are tax incentives that are given to young people who are below, or they are up to 35 years and below. And you're expected to be in this stream of business activity. Manufacturing, information and communication technology, if you're into agro-processing, energy production, waste processing, tourism and creative art, horticulture and medical plants. Basically, these are the stream of the activities, and you are granted a tax exemption for a period of 5 years. If you find yourself in any of this region and you are a young person who is 35 years and below, you just have to notify the Revenue Authority with the requisite documentation to show that you're a young person who is into this business venture for you to be able to take advantage of this tax concession.
And Gilbert Yurinchiadu is the Senior Manager, Tax and Regulatory at Accounting and Financial firm Deloitte. Now, the Joy Business Dialogue Series is live on the Marketplace. Joy News every day at 1 p.m. Now, tomorrow our guest will be coming from the Manager, Strategy and Operations at KPMG. That is Madam Annie Eduforson. We'll be looking at enhancing customer experience, best practices for businesses. Will be at 1 p.m. Joy News on Marketplace as we find ways to help these small businesses, equip them with the right information on how to start the year right. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you. That is, let's do sports, right? With Musbah.
I'm just curious why you keep mentioning sports like that.
There's this guy on VOA that does sports news, and that's how he.
That's how he says. That
he says sports.
Wow, interesting. It's a very important sector, so we have to. Okay, well, quick update coming in is the Black Queens. They have a new head coach, and the Ghana Football Association made the announcement just some minutes ago, and it's Swedish tactician Kim Lars Borkegren. He's been announced the new head coach of the national women's football team. Now, Kim, he's a seasoned coach with nearly 2 decades of experience, and he'll be taking over from Nora Hoptel, whose tenure ended in December following the expiration of her contract with the Ghana Football Association. Now, the announcement was made in a statement released by the GFA, except of which I have for you, and they said that they are looking forward to the new head coach using his attacking philosophy to help the Black Queens, particularly with the Women's AFCON that is coming up this year. Well, the statement added that Kim's journey in football, which began as a player in his hometown club in Sweden, he managed to go on to coach quite a number of top teams. Among his achievements, in 2017, he was crowned Swedish Women's League champion with Linkopins, and also he won the First Division Championship in Cyprus and also became the best coach in the Cyprus First Division in 2020-2021, and he is looking forward to transform the Black Queens. So Emefa, that's the new Black Queens coach, a Swedish tactician. Yeah.
And definitely there will be some resetting and transformation. Okay, we look forward to that.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll be waiting for his first press conference. Then we can hear from him what he's got for the Black Queen. So that's the update I have for you from the quarters of the Ghana Football Association.
Well, thank you very much, Razak. A few of you have been sending in your messages. This is from Philip Abochi from Keta. He says those nominees must work hard to lift the image party and Ghana, as we the youth must get jobs under this government. At Keta, the incoming MCA should be mature and have expertise in development. Nana from Spintex Road also says Afenya Markin must be made aware that he's not doing his party any favors at all. Some of us thought he would have learnt his lessons from running to the Supreme Court if any coughs and ended up shutting down Parliament. Emefa, these are some of the messages we've been receiving.
Let's head to the senior high schools now. At this point, Ken, and schools are facing severe food shortages and are still waiting for relief over 48 hours after President Mahama directed the dispatch of emergency supplies. Well, despite Charles's plea to the Eswal Akufo-Addo government to delay reopening due to unpaid arrears from 2023 and insufficient supplies, schools reopened on January 3.
And no meals have been served at all, and government has been meeting the heads of the school. We will bring you details shortly, but first let's listen to President Mahama, who spoke at the National Prayer and Thanksgiving service at UPSA, where he tasked his Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, to oversee the nationwide distribution of supplies from Tema warehouses.
We have a challenge currently with feeding students in secondary schools, as the Ghana Education Service insisted that schools must reopen on the 3rd of January, contrary to the advice of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools. As a stopgap measure, I've asked the Chief of Staff to work with the Ghana Education Service to allocate and evacuate food that is currently held in warehouses in Tema. This food was imported by the outgone government in response to the drought that occurred last year. But in this emergency, we need to use some of that food to feed our students.
So we'll get to find out a bit more why the food has still not reached the senior high schools. But we've been hearing from the National Council of the Parent Teacher Association. The General Secretary for the association is Gabson Kofi Raphael.
The government has given directives. We all know that when government issues directives, at least the best time that you can assess whether the directive has worked is within a minimum of within a week will be the best way we can do an assessment. But we have also been following and we've been taking signals. But we are also urging our PTA school-based executives that they should continue to use the PTA funds to support and complement the efforts of government. You know, whatever was in the system was being rationed because there was no hope anywhere. But we've also told our PTA executives across the board that they use the available PTA funds to augment the feeding situation in the various schools.
Right, let's have a conversation on this, and we have Dr. Clement Park, who is a former deputy ranking member on Parliament's Education Committee. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Do we have any indication when these foods will be distributed to the schools?
Well, as directed by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, the Chief of Staff has since convened a number of meetings. Meetings were held with representatives from the Ghana Education Service as well as the Ministry of Education. After that, he held another meeting with the national leadership of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools. Just this evening, we concluded a meeting laying out and mapping out the arrangements to ensure that the rice that the president referred to at the port is conveyed to different parts of the country for onward distribution to the schools. As I speak to you, I'm aware that the Chief of Staff, working with the Ministry of Finance, is working to get some agent funds disbursed, this time directly to the heads of the institutions, for them to procure the other food items necessary to ensure that our wards in the secondary schools are properly fed and nourished so that they can pursue the purpose of which they are in school. But safe to add that the erstwhile Akufo-Addo MPP government, having failed to heed to the call by CHAS not to reopen schools in lieu of the lack of provision to take care of the students, went ahead and compelled the schools to be reopened without providing a dime for their upkeep. So as I speak to you, the president and the government are clearly on top of issues.
Well, it's been 48 hours. The president and the government may be on top of issues, but the indication we got from the National Prayer and Thanksgiving was an immediate release of that food in the warehouse. Do you know when exactly the students will get the food?
Well, you know, the food has to be transported. So the food is available. All clearance has been given. What is happening now is to arrange the haulage trucks to move the food items from Tema to the 55 centers from where the food will then get to the school. So that is ongoing, and I'm very confident that within the next 24 to 48 hours, we should be speaking about the rice having arrived at the needed destination.
We are grateful. That's Dr. Clement Park there, giving us some updates on when exactly that food will arrive in the various schools. But in the meantime, there are some silent heroes in your communities that you need to nominate, because the Joy News Impact Makers Awards nominations for the award is open as we speak. Yeah?
Exactly. And is it Agric, Health, Education, Science and Technology? The Joy News Impact Makers Award is inviting all of you out there to put in an entry for a national recognition of that individual who is changing lives. We will be telling you how to do that shortly, but first listen to past award winners on what has changed since receiving that recognition from your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism.
I never knew people were watching some of these things we were doing, and it brought tears to my eyes, but not just the tears, because the tears showed me that indeed somebody has done something that has touched my heart. And Joy News, I want to say a very big thank you to Joy News and the Impact Makers, those who have come together to do this, because honestly, we are just ordinary people trying to make impact in our own little way. To recognize us gives us the strength to push on, and not just us alone. Imagine me sitting here. I've become a role model to a lot of young people in the Upper East. This has really encouraged me.
And that's why you have to be a Joy News Impact Maker. Nominate that hero in your community right now. It's time for the Geeks. Well, we've lost Teddy Osei today, but what are we talking about on Geek Squad?
Did you set any New Year resolutions?
I've stopped doing that.
You have?
Yes.
No goals?
Every day is a goal. I have a goal every day. Every single day there's a goal to achieve.
Interesting. Yeah. Tonight on Geek Squad, we want to talk about some tech goals that our listeners can set. Something like reducing your screen time, for instance.
Very important.
You see?
How can we do that?
You see?
I'm glued. I'm glued to you right now. Well, Edubia and the team are ready. Ken, let's head out now and leave you with that report from Jacqueline and Mayapwa.
May you so rest in peace.
You Teddy Osei was more than just a musician. He was a pioneer who put African music on the world map. Born in December 1937 in Kumasi.
My surname is Osei. My showbiz name is Teddy. My life started in Kumasi.
His love affair with music began early, experimenting with instruments as a child and later learning the saxophone in secondary while trying to form a band with his college friends. Before fully embracing his musical calling, Teddy briefly worked as a building inspector. However, his passion led him to form the Comet, a band that laid the foundation for what would become his life's work. In 1969, he co-founded Osipisa alongside musicians from Ghana, the Caribbean, and Nigeria. The band's fusion of Afrobeat, rock, and highlife was revolutionary, earning them global acclaim in the 1970s. Hits like Sunshine Day and Woyaya became anthems that celebrated African identity and culture.